It's official now. War criminal Benjamin Netanyahu and his convicted felon friend Donald Trump desperately ended their illegal military transgressions on Iran after killing more than 1,000 innocent civilians in the Islamic Republic only because Tehran was about to crush both these paper tigers ruthlessly. This is not just my assessment. I told you in several of my videos about the power of Iranian missiles and how they had sent shockwaves across the settler colony. But now, even pro Israel American media outlet, the Wall Street Journal, has reported exactly the same assessment with frightening details. This would give you an idea why I have just called Israel and the US paper tigers. The central theme of this exhaustive Wall Street Journal piece is that Israel was just hours away from receiving unimaginable pain at the hands of Iran had Trump not made a desperate intervention. This also confirms another widely discussed theory that terrorist Netanyahu only agreed for a ceasefire because he feared complete annihilation by Iran. Now let's look at the finer details of the Wall Street Journal piece. Netanyahu, as you know, launched an illegal attack on Iran even when Iran and the US were engaged in diplomatic talks over Tehran's nuclear program. As I have stated in a number of my videos, terrorist Netanyahu's assessment was that he would bring Iran to its knees using his air power, and the Islamic Republic would implode within hours as the massive destruction caused by indiscriminate Israeli bombings would trigger widespread unrest in the country. The terrorist, who had now quite got used to scavenging on American taxpayers' money, also grossly miscalculated Iranian missile stockpile. Now, the Wall Street Journal story shows just how clueless this terrorist was. Trump, too, emerges as a warmonger bereft of any vision or awareness of his own military strength. Iran responded by firing a barrage of drones, ballistic and supersonic missiles. Such was the ferocity of these retaliatory attacks that the much publicized US air defense system, including the THAAD, Arrow 3, David Sling, and Iron Dome, simply failed to function. There were several instances of these interceptor missiles failing to even take off. The precision and ability with which Iranian missiles destroyed the intended targets, such as the Mossad headquarters, the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange, Haifa Port, Haifa Oil Refinery, Haifa Power Plant, Ashdod Port, its oil refinery, Ben Gurion Airport, and several military bases, was simply astounding. Now, the Wall Street Journal says that not just Israel, but even the US was fast running out of its interceptor missiles stationed in the region. Why? Because although the original objective of this missile defense system was to protect US troops and assets in the region, it decided to fire most of them to protect a foreign settler colony called Israel. And we were told that US wasn't involved in that conflict. The report also said that over 150 THAAD interceptor missiles, 150, were launched, almost 25% of all ever acquired by the Pentagon. So the US fired 25% of its stockpile to defend a foreign country. Replenishing just the THAADs used in Israel's defense will cost up to $2 billion and take more than a year. That's because Lockheed Martin, the US defense giant behind the system, can only produce around 100 interceptors in a year. The US and Israelis were so desperate that at one point, the Pentagon considered a plan to divert interceptors purchased by Saudi Arabia to the systems in Israel. The discussions were sensitive because the kingdom's cities and oil installations were also considered at risk during the conflict. It wasn't just the THAAD. The US fired a large number of shipborne interceptor missiles as well. And Israel quickly drained stockpiles of its own. In the words of the Wall Street Journal, had Iran fired a few more large volleys of missiles, Israel could have exhausted its supply of top tier Arrow 3 munitions within days. Now, try and watch this clip of Donald Trump in the context of this revelation. Can you understand why he was so exasperated and why he so desperately wanted the Iran's counter assault to stop?
They violated it, but Israel violated it too. Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because the one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
The revelation should frighten US citizens, every single US citizen, particularly those who voted this fraud called Donald Trump, believing his anti war promise. When you learn about just how unsafe this convicted felon has made Americans and added billions of dollars worth additional burden, you would realize the mistake of electing this dangerous conman. The US military currently has 7 THAADs. It's very important to understand this fact. They have 7 THAADs. 2 of them are dedicated to the defense of Israel. Yes, 2 out of 7 are dedicated to defending our foreign settler colony. Amazing, isn't it? It's beautiful pledge. America first pledge. 2 others are pledged to Guam and South Korea. One is deployed to defend Saudi Arabia, while the remaining 2 are on the duty to defend the continental US. Army officers would tell you that in a perfect world, 2 THAADs should be in the US for everyone deployed. Under this concept, one system is deployed, another is returning for maintenance and upgrades, and a third is involved in training for the next deployment. With 5 of 7 THAADs deployed on foreign duty, the US will likely run into what's known as dwell issues, where units don't get needed downtime between deployments. So the 12 days of reckless and illegal military transgressions by Israel and the US have left the US in a state of military paralysis with severely depleted defense against any future attacks. And this is not all. Most of America's Orley Borg class guided missile destroyers in the Middle East are armed with a range of standard missile interceptors known as SM-2, SM-3, and SM-6, which can shoot down ballistic missiles and other aerial threats, at least on paper. Such was the fury of the Iranian missiles in those 12 days that even these warships were drawn into the defense of Israel. Now we know that these warships fired as many as 80 SM-3 missiles targeting Iranian missiles. According to RTX, which manufactures SM-3s, each one of them cost between 8 million and 25 million, depending on the variant. And US fired 80 of them. Just calculate your own cost. And this is over and above the $2 billion that we are talking about to replenish the THAAD system. Then there is a concern in Pentagon about the efficacy of these interceptor missiles. The success of Iranian missiles showed that the much publicized air defense system had not worked as effectively as it was widely expected to be. The US military is now believed to be carefully examining each case to understand what exactly happened. And if this was not a serious enough military setback, we are now being told that Israelis and several American warships kept shooting the same Iranian missile at the same time, all without success. This led to the wastage of expensive interceptor missiles at epic proportions. What made their job even more complicated was the Iranians' decision to fire drones, decoys, and rocket boosters to confuse the US and Israeli interceptor missiles before actually sending the powerful ballistic and hypersonic missiles. Hope tax-paying US citizens exert enough pressure on their pro-Israeli and anti-America rogue politicians such as Trump, his cabinet colleagues, and people like Mike Huckabee to stop being slaves to a foreign settler colony. People like Marjorie Taylor Greene have been pretty vocal about this.
Tell you what, 6 months in, Steve, and here we are turning back on the campaign promises, and we bombed Iran on behalf of Israel. Yes, it was on behalf of Israel. We're entering a nuclear war, the World War III, because the entire world is going to erupt. And you want to know the people that are cheering it on right now? Their tune is going to drastically change the minute we start seeing flag draped coffins on the nightly news, on Fox News that brainwashes all the baby boomers, and on CNN that brainwashes all the Democrat baby boomers. And that is exactly how this is going to go down.
So has Anna Kasparian been? This was her in the recent past.
You know, you feel strongly about, doing military strikes in Iran. Fair enough. Would you feel as strongly? Would you be lobbying as aggressively as you're lobbying right now to do strikes in Iran if the United States took a stand and said, we will provide absolutely no taxpayer money to fund the weapons for that war, and we will not commit to any military assistance to Israel as they try to carry out this war? Would you still want to do it?
A nuclear Iran that chants death to
Answer
Israel
the question.
is an existential threat to my country. I do not want war with Iran. I do not want a strike on Iran's
You do
nuclear
want war with
facilities.
Iran. Don't
I
stop
want
lying about
diplomacy
that.
to succeed.
Would you still pursue that war?
And she spoke to Tucker Carlson only yesterday. According to one Pentagon official, the biggest worry for the Trump administration right now is the fear that while Iranians are going to do this again, the US and Israel simply cannot afford to do it again. Well, I have a solution. Just give up your warmongering ideology and live by the international law and stop terrorizing innocent and unarmed civilians. And more crucially, stop stealing people's land to build your own settler colony. It's really not that difficult. That's it from me. Thank you very much for your support of this platform and our journalism on buymeacoffee.com and Patreon. If you too think that our journalism is worth supporting, then you too should consider becoming part of it. Details are there in the description of this video. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.